of Kung Fu culture, where we want to help you to enlighten your mind, and you can then make fierce your body, like the old quote says. I'll try to work it in and say it better in the future. I'm trying to work in some kind of like slogan, but we'll see how it works out. So far, not so good, not so smooth, right? But I like that quote, so I'm going to try to make it work. So we have a very special guest in the studio today. We have a big time kung fu fan, and also she's always very humble, but she's a big time scholar as well. So her name's Claire. Thank you for having
Hello,
her.
everyone. Thank
Yeah.
you for having me, Robin.
Okay, so Claire is here to bring up a big historical figure that I think is like doesn't really get much attention, because at least say, like, looking online now, you have people always talking about the Shaolin Temple and stuff when they're talking about kung fu, and there's so many, or like China has such a long martial art history, and even thinking about like the like even the wrestling and stuff is thousands of years old, much older than Buddhism and even the Shaolin Temple and all that. So um, we're not talking about wrestling today. We're actually going to be talking about the Wudang Mountain and Wudang martial arts. So different. It's a different thing. There, like in the United States, a lot of people know it as Wu Tang, just because of the different type of romanization. So one of the ancient figures from there is this man named Zhang Sanfeng. So Claire, can you give us an idea of who this person was and maybe about how long ago he lived?
Okay, I think for everyone who is familiar with Zhang Sanfeng is about he was a legend. So his lifespan was really long, that covers 2 centuries. So 12th century and 13th century. And I think so people think him as a philosopher in Confucian and Taoist, and he is the creator of Tai Chi or Tai Chi Chuan, and he's also the founder of Wudang School. He has several disciples. So in Louis Cha's novel, or say Jin Yong, he has 7 disciples. We call them the 7 heroes of Wudang. And one of them is really famous, whose name is Zhang Suishan, because he married In Su. She's the daughter of a leader of another cult. So their forbidden love made Zhang Suishan pretty famous in the Kung Fu novel context.
Yeah, so it was easy to say. Basically, I know the answer to this question. It's easy to say that there are a lot of movies and books, and like there's like a lot of lore about him. So actually, why don't we take this time to show a little clip? So this is. Do you want to kind of introduce the clip? What movie is this from?
Okay, so for everyone who's interested in Jet Li, so this movie is what's the name of it? Tai Chi Master. So there's performance about Tai Chi in the real combat.
Yeah, so you're gonna see Jet Li have a battle, but he's playing as though he's this man, Zhang Sanfeng. Okay, here, check it out. It's just a quick one from Tai Chi. All right, so he's really accredited with making developing or founding Tai Chi. Claire, I think that's kind of like, well, actually, let's continue with the first question. I mean, so people really think he developed Tai Chi. What does the evidence show?
So you want the evidence,
Sure.
not the legend.
Oh, well, tell us the legend, and then
Okay, I can give you two versions. So the legend, we have two versions of legends. The first one is Zhang Sanfeng got the teachings of Tai Chi from a dream. So a Taoist deity taught him the idea of Tai Chi in his dreams. So that's one version. Another version is when Zhang Sanfeng was meditating in Wudang mountain and he witnessed a combat between a snake and the crane, but none of the party won. So that made him realize that we have to have the idea to use softness to overcome strength. So you don't have to win a battle with a brutal force. And he also got the idea of the balance between yin and yang. So these are the two legends. We also have some evidence to show that Zhang Sanfeng may be a real person living in their history. So there's a book called The Epitaph for Wang Zhennan. So in this book, it claims that Zhang Sanfeng is the founder of Tai Chi, and he also is the creator of the 内家拳法 or external practice in Tai Chi.
So
Here's the evidence.
yeah, so Neja is actually the internal, right? The internal. So I guess we can kind of talk about that right now. So I think what people are thinking with regards to Zhang Sanfeng and the development of Taiji is the whole idea of the Neja. So Neja is considered to be like the more of the meditative or internal. So Ne means internal. So that's like internal martial arts in general. In Kung Fu, they usually just call it Neijia. And so what that means is usually there's more of an emphasis on like breathing techniques. You might even do visualizations about like how your chi is flowing through your body, helping your organs, helping your body to function. And that is usually considered um, like styles like qi gong and definitely tai chi, ba gua. You'll have other there are actually many styles. Tai Chi, Bagua, Xing Yi, like all these other ones are kind of more are also very popular. So you'll hear about it, but they're also more than that. Uh, but they're all under that umbrella of like internal martial arts. And so Claire, I'm gonna say that. So my opinion, based off of some of the evidence, is not that he invented Tai Chi, but he probably, especially since we're talking about Taoism, so it seems like the Taoists had a lot of kind of like qigong type exercises, and they had a thing going on for hundreds of years, if not over 1,000 years. And for someone to say that Zhang Sanfeng developed Tai Chi, I feel that he probably just made his own version of the Taoist exercise that might have been more slow, or made it might because for qigong a lot of times you'll have like just more static movements, very minimal movement of the body. But maybe he developed maybe more of a sequence. But I don't know if you can truly call it Tai Chi. What do you think?
I think it's more about his philosophy. So in Taoism, we have a term called Wu Wei, which literally means do nothing. So when Zhang Sanfeng was young, he refused to work for the government, and he kept wandering around until he arrived at Wudang, where he really found out the true meaning of martial arts and his philosophy.
So do you think that then because like you've also studied some Taiji. Do you think that what he potentially developed would be considered Taiji or Taiji Chuan?
Okay, that's a great question. If we really want some solid evidence, I couldn't say he's the creator of Tai Chi. We have some evidence, but they are basically inconsistent and they are not the original source. So, according to some scholarship, during the 20th and 21st century, they have a consensus that Chen Wangting from Chen Village, Henan Province, is actually the I'm not saying the creator, at least he combined Tai Chi and some techniques in military and the Taoism, combine them together, and his style we call Chen style Tai Chi Chuan. We have solid evidence for Chen Wanting.
Yeah. So I think that's like the main idea that I kind of want like the listener or viewer to know, because I I personally don't think that Zhang Sanfeng is doing stuff like, even like how they show how we just showed you in the clip of Jet Li doing the beautiful movement. Actually, it might have like I don't think he was necessarily doing some of the same poses, right? But I think Zhang Sanfeng was probably doing something similar in that, like maybe he was doing more of a sequence of movements, like having them together. But I think it wasn't until the founder of Chen style that it becomes something that is like an official style, like a Chen, like how they call Chen. So that's when you finally get something like Taiji Chen. And like, do you even, is there even any evidence at Wudang that they were calling it Taiji, like what he was doing, or is it probably still, because like there was still like that term, was it Daoyin, right? Where those types of internal Neijia exercises, do you think they probably were just, this is my assumption that they were just probably calling it that, or like their internal exercise.
Yeah, but if you grew up in China and if you're a fan of Louis Cha's novel, it doesn't really matter that much if Zhang Sanfeng is a real person or whether he created Tai Chi. So he is a symbol of Tai Chi and also as a philosopher of Taoist. Yeah, I think maybe you can find some of his paintings if you go to Wudang or any kind of Dao temple. Yeah, it's easy to find him. And I think for every Chinese is familiar with his name, and plus all the movies and kung fu novels, he is a legend and he's really famous.
Okay, so then you feel as though because I mean, every legend, has like its basis in truth. So do you feel like, so they say that he lived for maybe even 200 years, and do you feel that maybe he at least lived, like he was a real human that lived?
Yeah, I think he was a real people. We have some evidence for that, but just because he was so old, right? We couldn't find any solid evidence. Just originated in his time. That's why it's hard for me to give you a process answer. But I prefer personally that he was real, and he also was a legend.
Yeah. So like a lot of or at least a lot of the writing about him comes from after his death, right? Kind of like Jesus, right? Where it's like a lot of the witnessing of his life and his actions come long after he died. But chances are, there is like a grain of truth in that there was an actual person who lived by that name, and he was a badass.
Yeah, and also it's hard to find a lineage of his disciples traced directly back to Zhang Sanfeng. It's also hard to find that.
So I'm sure there are probably a lot of people who claim some connection, right?
Yeah, people could do that.
Yeah, because even right, so then, okay, so this brings me to the idea of, so then there's a modern book, or there's a recent scholarly book. Hopefully we're not boring anyone, because we both, Claire and I, we like kind of scholarly things. There is one that I have mentioned on this channel before, a more recent scholarly book about Tai Chi, and it's called The Lost Tai Chi Classics of the Qing Dynasty. And that one basically argues that the way we understand Tai Chi today really didn't even manifest with the Chen village. It was actually more in the mid 1800s when you had the Yang and the other style like Wu style. Yeah, that when those were starting to develop, then you get what we now understand as Tai Chi or Tai Chi Chuan. Um, and that also, I think, so even in that book, it kind of talks about, so like that time period in China was very rough. You had a dynasty that was unpopular, and then even according to the book, the Yang practitioners and the Wu practitioners, they all knew each other, but it seems like they also were unhappy with the government. We also had like the Taiping Rebellion going on nearby, where you had a lot of Chinese people who believed that they were some type of Christian was just like going over the area and just destroying large parts and taking over different municipalities. So I think as a way to kind of separate themselves from say like the overall government and maybe even Christianity and Confucianism, I think that's why nowadays, or at least like the idea of the Yang styles and the Wu and all the others, it's a heavy emphasis on the Taoism, even over any kind of Buddhist idea, right? Because I think they did want to separate themselves from like kind of like the prevailing ideas, and they kind of wanted to go back to Taoist philosophy or Taoist ideals of like nature and whatnot. So, um, could you kind of give us your thoughts on that whole idea where it's like, yeah, you can like maybe even the original 10 stuff isn't exactly what we expect. And what we think of Taiji now is really more of a modern idea. I guess maybe mid 1800s. Right? So it's not the newest idea, not but it's definitely not the oldest. It's not as old as even Zhang Sanfeng. Right?
Yeah, I think so even for the Chen style, Yang style, and Wu style, for this person were real and they lived in this world and they made many contributions to Tai Chi. So the debate is continuous till this day. So like who was the creator or who really changed any the form like the 13th form or other forms, and who applied Taoism into Tai Chi. So the debate is going on till nowadays. But I still want to circle back to the topic of Daoyin, or not Daoyin, the 内家拳 and the internal practice. So when we say 内家 internal practice, it's in comparison with 外家 external practice. So like Shaolin Kung Fu is the representative. So I'd like to ask you, do you think Tai Chi is all about internal practice and Shaolin Kung Fu is all about external practice? So if you are familiar with the Kung Fu movies or Louis Cha's novel, so Shaolin had a very famous Kung Fu form, which is called 大力金刚指, which means you can just kill your enemy by the strength of one finger. So that maybe that's a very, very good example for external practice. So let's say if a Tai Chi master fights with a Shaolin master, who will win?
Like
depending on their different philosophy,
yeah,
internal and external practice.
yeah, whoever is watching is the real winner, right? Yeah, well, ultimately, I think that's the whole idea, and bringing it back to the idea or like the Taoist philosophy. It's like there's the whole idea is like yang zhong zhi yin. So and vice versa, right? Yin zhong zhi yang. So the whole idea is like there is yang inside of the yin and vice versa, yin inside of yang. So just like when you see the Tai Chi diagram or the yin or they call it yin yang diagram, you know, it's like the looks like two like maybe little dolphins and they got the the eyes are the different colors. So it's all the seed of each other in both of them, right? So even though you might set out to do something meditative, like breathing exercises or whatever, still the fact that you're using your body, standing up and breathing and stuff, that all could be considered the yang aspect of it. So even though you might be doing a more of a yin, like a relaxed, softer practice, so that's why it's always part of. So the yin and yang are always there, right? So and you'll even see like in movies and stuff about, or even like train. It's not just movies, but it's like also actual video of training at the Shaolin Temple. You will have some of the monks doing some type of meditative or like some type of qigong type thing. So they like it's still, even though like you'll see mostly like the Shaolin monks and stuff doing like these shows where they're doing a lot of acrobatics, and that would be really considered more of this external stuff. But it still has that seed of the yin, right? So it's always a definite balance. So while we can't say who will win, but actually they might be more similar in their approach, right, than we might think.
Yeah, I think for anyone who is familiar with Shaolin Kung Fu, so they also have Yi Jin Jing, which is a really legendary Kung Fu, which can heal your wound inside your body. I think that's a representative of internal practice in Shaolin Kung Fu. And if you really observe the yin yang diagram, you can see the black part and the white part are combined together, which means we can always find a shade under the sunlight. So there's light, and light we can see darkness under the light. We can always find light inside of the darkness.
Yeah, exactly. Or even the characters themselves of Ian, right? So it's like the dark side of the hill, and when you look at the traditional character, right? Modern, the simplified character is like with like the moon and the hill, right? But still, either way, it's like the hill and the darkness. Try to get this back over here. Let's get the thing to fix. So, come back over. Come back over. Hey, well, we'll just focus on Claire for the rest of the time. But yeah, it's totally the same idea. The yin, or you can't have the night without the sun or the daytime, right? So you can't have the darkness without the light. It's just what you want to focus on or emphasize at that time. So you can be doing or emphasizing um, the breathing and the meditative aspect where you're in like you're visualizing your chi helping your body to flow and to help your body to heal, and so that is definitely yin practice. But the whole idea of your body moving and doing some type of posture or stance, I think would be considered the yang aspect of an yin practice. Yeah. So, do you have any other questions, Claire?
Not for now.
All right. Well, if anyone has any questions, we see some people watching, so feel free to ask while we get the camera to work. Usually, you can put our pause up, and then it will focus, but maybe not today. There we go. A little bit better.
Now you come back to center
I know.
again.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. There we go. I think it just wants to keep me in the center now.
That's okay.
Okay, well, all right. So no one's asking any questions. Hopefully this gave you a better idea. Claire, go ahead and put your hand up. Just there we go. This is for
Okay.
okay. Yeah,
Yeah, maybe
better.
too much.
Yeah. We'll work on the getting the camera just right. It never had to have an extra person here. But with that being said, hopefully, if you like these types of talks, or because I think there's a lot of the kung fu history that just gets overlooked. And I know on this channel we talk a lot about like the modern sanda, that would be considered an external martial art. So kind of wanted to give the whole idea of like a lot of these other historical figures in kung fu, give them some attention, some love. We can kind of talk about it. Also, since um, Claire here is willing to uh, throw us some insights and give us some really good like links to good information from China, and so it really helps us to, or hopefully helps you to understand more about the rich history of Chinese martial arts, and because a lot of people don't necessarily know about the rich history, and also all these different characters that are behind some of the greatest stories that a lot of people don't even know about, right?
Mhm.
Right. So we invite actually. So then, with that being said, so what is a book that you might recommend? Because I think there's the one of the story about
Yeah, the
the
Louis Charles novel. That's
what's the title of it? Do you know?
I'm not familiar with the English
What
title.
is the Chinese name?
倚天屠龙记.
Okay. You want to say it again? Say it loud and clear.
倚天屠龙记.
All right. And that is that the one, the history of.
Yeah, it's like the 倚天 sword and 屠龙 saber.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the whole history of how he.
Especially in the beginning part, you can get a whole idea why Zhang Sanfeng was a legendary, and the whole book was about his disciples and the son of his disciple Zhang Cuishan, who married the daughter of a cult leader.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, was that the one that she was a part of the Yuan?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we can also in the following episodes we could also talk about Tai Chi with Dao De Jing and water margins. So I think from that book, you can get the idea of in China's chivalry. So how do you call yourself a gentleman, like a 大侠, a real kung fu master? It's not just about your form or how strong you are, how many people you can beat. It's about how you choose between right and wrong. How do you forgive the people who once offended you? So it's about the whole idea, especially when you are in a very challenging situation. You can kill your enemy directly, or you can give them a chance to start over.
Yeah, yeah. So that is another major martial art classic of China that also isn't talked about. So can you actually it does go by different names. So what is the one you just mentioned? Water margin?
Yeah, 水浒传.
Okay, so yeah, it'd be difficult to. So just know that if you're looking it up in English, you can look up water margin or heroes of the marsh. Or sometimes you'll even find it under heroes of the water margin. So just know it's out there. You might have to look up a mix of names, but usually water margin or heroes of the marsh or heroes of the water margin. It's a long book with many chapters. So we kind of want to talk about some of those things as well in upcoming episodes, so you get an idea of. So even our channel is called Kung Fu Culture. So there's a lot of culture with regards to Kung Fu. So we kind of want to go over a lot of it. All right. So that being said, if you want to help us out, actually, we've been putting a lot of videos in our members section. Also, members get like once we upload a video, we usually give you access first to watch our regular like long form videos. So consider being a member. It really helps us out. Um, and yeah, and then if you're at UCLA this fall, classes will resume shortly. Like I believe at the end of September, we're gonna have a few different, or mid-September, we're gonna have a few different seminars, short seminars that you don't have to. I think they're gonna be free. They're gonna be introductory seminars as well. So if you have access to the gym at UCLA, go ahead. Feel free to attend. All right. So thank you for being here, Claire. Thank you for preparing some great information. Hopefully, you got some good information out of it. Hopefully, help you to understand the like the long history of Taiji, and it's it's more rich and diverse than you might even think. So, thank you, Claire.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Okay, so we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching and listening.